Welcome to Communicate to Lead, the podcast that empowers leaders and aspiring leaders to communicate with clarity and impact. I'm Keely Belton, CEO and successful entrepreneur, and your host for today. I'm here to equip you with all the essential tools and strategies to master effective communication and lead your team to success. As the founder and CEO of The Tailored Approach, my goal is to empower you to be the best leader you can be. So sit back, relax, and join me in today's episode as we dive into the art of communicating like a true leader. Have you ever noticed how some leaders can walk into a room and command attention before they've said a single word? That moment when the energy shifts, conversations quiet down, and all eyes turn toward them. That is not magic, and it's certainly not luck. That's presence. Welcome back to Communicate to Lead. I'm Keely, and today we're discussing something that can make or break your leadership effectiveness, your physical presence and how it communicates your power, authority, and confidence. Sometimes much louder than words ever could. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about crafting your personal brand as a leader. You could have the most carefully crafted personal brand statement, the perfect LinkedIn profile, and a flawlessly articulated leadership philosophy, and still undermine it all in the first 7 seconds of walking into a room. Why? Because research consistently shows that nonverbal cues, your body language, facial expressions, and vocal delivery have a profound impact on how others perceive our leadership capacity. Communication studies have found that people almost always trust the nonverbal when there's an inconsistency between our words and our nonverbal signals. That means our body language, facial expressions, and vocal delivery. So today, I'm sharing exactly how to develop a powerful leadership presence that aligns with your personal brand, and how to avoid the subtle but costly mistakes I see even the most accomplished women leaders make. Before we dive into the strategies and frameworks, I want to share a quick story with you. A client of mine, let's call her Sandra, was brilliant at her work. Strategic thinker, innovative problem solver, the complete package. She'd recently been promoted to director level at her organization, but she was struggling to get buy-in for ideas in the senior leadership team. During our first coaching session, I observed her in a meeting, which was recorded. What I was noticing was fascinating. When Sandra spoke, she had valuable insights, but her physical presence was communicating something entirely different from her words. She made herself physically smaller, leaning back in her chair, keeping her hands close to her body and tilting her head slightly to the side, and using a questioning tone at the end of what would be definitive statements. Her body language was essentially saying, "Don't mind me, I'm not that important," while her words were saying, "Here's my strategic 3-year plan." After working on her presence for about 4 weeks, the same team that had been resistant to her ideas was now eager to hear her perspective. The shift was interesting. What changed? Not her ideas, not her knowledge, not even the words she was using. What changed was how she physically embodied her leadership. And that's exactly what we're exploring today. How to ensure your physical presence aligns with and amplifies your personal brand as a leader. So let's start with understanding what's actually happening in the brain when we encounter someone with a powerful presence. Our brains are constantly scanning our environment for threats and rewards. It's an ancient survival mechanism. When you enter a room, others' brains are instantly making assessments about you. Are you a threat? Are you an ally? Are you important? Are you confident? Should they listen to you? And these assessments happen at a neurobiological level within milliseconds. Studies in social cognition show that we form impressions of others based on 2 primary dimensions: warmth and competence. As a leader, you need to signal both. But here's where it gets interesting, and where many women leaders face a dilemma. Research shows that women are often perceived as either warm or competent, but rarely both at the same time. This creates what researchers call the double bind of female leadership. When we project warmth as women, we are often not seen as competent leaders. When we project competence and authority, we are often perceived as lacking warmth, which can lead to likability issues or penalties. The key is understanding how you use your presence to communicate both dimensions simultaneously. That means both warmth and competence. And it's absolutely possible. I've seen it being done. I have done it. I've seen my clients shift and focus on both. Take my client, Danielle, a senior director who described herself as naturally introverted. She discovered that by maintaining direct eye contact, using purposeful gestures at key points, and standing in what she called the balance ready position, she could communicate both warmth and competence without saying a word. So even before she started speaking, her body, her facial expressions conveyed both warmth and competence. The difference for her was understanding that presence isn't about personality. It's about intentionally communicating through your body what you want others to perceive. Now let's talk about the specific pitfalls I see women leaders encounter when it comes to presence. I call these presence leaks, the ways we unintentionally diminish our leadership impact through physical habits we may not even be aware of. The first presence leak is what I call apologetic body language, and this includes making yourself physically smaller. That means hunching shoulders, crossing your arms, taking up less physical space than your male counterparts, tilting your head to the side when speaking, which can often signal deference, excessive nodding when others are speaking, which can often communicate agreement when you're merely acknowledging what they are saying. That's the first presence leak, apologetic body language. The second presence leak is what I call vocal undermining. And this includes upspeak or ending statements with a questioning tone as if you are asking a question. For example, I can introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Keely," or upspeak, "Hi, I'm Keely." And there we have the issue. Well, are you Keely or not? Are you asking a question or do you know who you are? Upspeak. The second one is vocal fry, which can diminish perceived authority. Fuller words like so, actually, sorry, speaking too quickly, which can signal nervousness. Those all undermine our presence by using our tone of voice. The third presence leak is gaze aversion. Eye contact is one of the most powerful tools for establishing authority, building connection, and commanding attention. Yet, many women leaders I work with struggle with maintaining comfortable, confident eye contact, particularly in high-stakes situations or when speaking to senior leaders or executives. The fourth presence leak is self-soothing behaviors. These are the little movements we make when we're anxious or feel uncomfortable that telegraph our discomfort to others. For example, playing with jewelry, adjusting clothing, touching your hair, tucking your hair behind your ear, rubbing your arms or your hands. And then lastly, the fifth presence leak is what I call space surrender, giving up your physical space or position of power. This includes backing up when someone enters your personal space, moving your materials to make room for others, even when there's already adequate space, standing off to the side in group settings rather than positioning yourself centrally, physically leaning away from the table during meetings, or leaning back in your chair. If you're recognizing yourself in any of these presence leaks, you are not alone. We've all done it. We've all been there. These patterns are incredibly common, and they often unconscious habits we've developed over the years. The good news is that they are relatively straightforward to address once you are aware of them. Here's an analogy that might help. Think of your leadership presence as the foundation of a house. Your knowledge, skills, and expertise are the beautiful rooms inside. But if the foundation is cracked or unstable, even the most beautiful interior won't compensate. People will always kind of feel uncomfortable, even if they can't quite explain why. Your presence is the foundation. Get it right, and everything else you bring to your table Your ideas, your experience, your vision will stand on solid ground. Now that we understand the common pitfalls, let's give you a simple framework to assess your leadership presence. I call this the presence audit, and it's something you can do regularly to ensure your physical communication is aligned with your intentions. Think of your leadership presence like driving a car. You need to check all your mirrors before you put yourself in motion. I call this the STAR framework. S stands for stance, your physical foundation. Here are some questions to ask yourself. Are you standing in a balanced position with feet firmly planted? Is your posture upright but not rigid? Are you taking up your rightful space at the table or in the room? Think of your stance as the roots of a tree. The deeper and more stable your roots, the stronger your presence will be, even when you encounter challenges. And next up, the T in STAR stands for tone, your vocal instrument. Think of the following. Is your voice coming from your diaphragm rather than your throat? Does your voice sound pinched? Or do you sound comfortable and confident? Are you speaking at a measured pace with intentional pauses? Does your voice convey confidence through steady volume and downward inflection instead of going up when we're using upspeak? Your tone is like the music that accompanies your message. It can either enhance or completely change the meaning of your words. And then we move on to A in STAR, which stands for attention, your focus, and your eye contact. Be clear on how you're coming across. So here are some questions to think about. Are you making deliberate eye contact that communicates both warmth and confidence? Are you fully present in the conversation rather than mentally preparing your next point? Are you varying your eye contact where you're looking at different people in the room instead of simply looking at one person? Think of your attention like a spotlight. Wherever you direct it, it shows others what you value and who you consider important. And then lastly, the R in STAR stands for rhythm, your pacing and movement. Think about the following. Are your gestures purposeful and aligned with your message? Are you using strategic stillness to emphasize important points? Are you moving with intention rather than nervous energy? Your rhythm is like the conductor of an orchestra, bringing together all elements of your presence in harmony. Before any important leadership moment, whether it's walking into a meeting, delivering a presentation, or having a crucial conversation, take 30 seconds to run through your STAR check. This quick audit ensures that how you're physically communicating aligns with the message you want to deliver. What I love about this framework is that it's portable. You can do a STAR check while walking down the hallway to a meeting or waiting for your turn to speak at a conference. It doesn't require special equipment or private space. It's simply all about your awareness. So you can do it in the moment, you can do it at any time, and you can do it as many times as you need to ensure that you have the strongest foundation possible. And that, my friend, is the STAR framework. Now, let's get into some practical techniques you can implement immediately to enhance your leadership presence. Technique number 1, the power stance. This is a balanced, rounded standing position that communicates both confidence and approachability. Here's how to do it. Stand with your feet hip width apart, weight evenly distributed on both feet, spine straight but not rigid, shoulders back and relaxed, chin parallel to the floor, arms relaxed to your side or used for purposeful gestures. Practice the stance until it feels natural. Practice it in front of your mirror where you can see it. Practice it and record yourself and take a look at how you are coming across. What is the camera capturing? Use it even when entering rooms, giving presentations, or having important conversations. Technique number 2, strategic stillness. Many of us, especially when we are nervous, create excessive movement, fidgeting, shifting weight, touching our hair, touching our clothing. Strategic stillness is about intentionally eliminating these movements to project confidence and command attention. Practice being still for increasing periods of time. Start with 30 seconds, then gradually build it to 2 minutes of complete stillness. Notice how powerful it feels to occupy space unapologetically. Technique number 3, vocal anchoring. Your voice is a critical component of your presence. Vocal anchoring is about establishing a strong, resonant voice that carries authority. Take a deep breath before speaking. Speak from your diaphragm, not your throat. And sentences with a downward inflection. Use pauses strategically and deliberately between important points. Vary your pace and tone for emphasis. Whether you're speaking faster and slower, softer and louder, use that to keep your audience engaged. Technique number 4, the connection triangle. When speaking to groups, use the connection triangle technique to ensure you're engaging the entire room. So identify 3 points in the room: right, center, left. Make deliberate eye contact with individuals at each section or each point. Start with the right, maybe move to the left, and then move to the center. Hold that eye contact for a full thought or sentence before moving to the next point or person. Return to each point regularly throughout your presentation and make sure to look at different people in the room. This technique ensures you're connecting with everyone, not simply the friendly faces or the senior leaders in the room. And lastly, technique number 5 is what I call territorial confidence. This is about owning your physical space, particularly in meeting settings. Arrive early and select a strategic position. Place your material in front of you, taking up appropriate space. Keep your arms on armrests or on the table rather than closely tucked against your body. When standing to present, move with purpose rather than apologetically or with nervous energy. Remember, these techniques aren't about being aggressive or dominating. They're about ensuring your physical presence aligns with your expertise and authority so that others receive your full value. As we wrap up today's episode, remember that developing a powerful leadership presence is not about changing who you are. It's about ensuring that who you are is being accurately communicated to others. Your ideas, your expertise, your vision, they deserve to be received with the full weight of your authority behind them. By aligning your physical presence with your personal brand, you ensure nothing gets lost in translation. So this week, I challenge you to conduct a daily presence audit using the STAR framework we discussed. Pay particular attention to which component needs to be most worked on and focus on implementing one of the 5 techniques we just discussed. And I'd love to hear how this goes for you. Connect with me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, send me a message. You can find my social handles in the show notes at the bottom. Share your biggest presence insights or challenges, and I might feature it in an upcoming episode. Until next week, my friend, I am Keely, reminding you that great communication is the foundation of inspiring leadership. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember to communicate to lead.